Okay, joining us today at Nova Lab Studios in downtown LA is Alex Garibyan. Alex, thanks for coming, man.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thank
So
you.
you are a holistic health coach, a movement practitioner, animal flow level one, a personal trainer, and in case anyone thought this guy doesn't do enough, also a DJ.
I had to figure out some names to hodgepodge it together, man. I haven't found the way to describe it all. I don't think I should be looking for the way to describe it all, but I guess it's a good way just to like catch the eye.
Yeah. So currently you're doing all of those things.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is there one that supersedes the rest?
Uh that's a tough one, dude. Only because like I want to say not only like attention span, but I have like these interests, right? Like you
Hmm.
have these interests. You don't want to like stick to one thing, or at least me. I don't like to stick to one thing specifically. They're all very integrated with myself and my day-to-day life, and it kind of always happened since I was a kid. So I just kind of found a way to just morph it all together, I guess, bring it into my day-to-day and just kind of keep it moving in that way, but not one supersedes the other for sure. No,
Okay.
I can't say so.
So like your last few like stories and stuff that I've
Yeah,
noticed, I'm like, this guy's always at the park.
yeah, it's cool, it's fun for
That's
sure.
that's your office.
It's become my office now with with COVID
All
and
right.
and all that stuff. If I'm not seeing a client in home, then I prefer the park. Only because you get, the environment is everything. You're in nature, you got butterflies flying around, you
Mm.
got kids over there playing, you got a family playing tennis, someone playing basketball. It's just very like lively, very, very childlike too, and kind of the atmosphere sets the tone. So I love the park for myself as well. Like if I ever want to meditate or just get some breath work in or just ground a little bit, for myself, that's the place I like to be. So why not bring people to that environment and trying to present that to them, if it's not already something in their sphere.
All right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how'd you get into this whole like lifestyle and also the actual profession itself?
I think this kind of just started for me really young. I was always really an active kid.
Mhm.
I danced for about 16 years with an Armenian dance company.
Where'd you go?
Vartan Siranush, Gevorkyan.
Okay.
Yeah, great people,
Yeah.
great family, great folks. I had the pleasure of like being with them for quite some time. We traveled around the world.
Hmm.
So movement, I want to say, was like already there for me. I was always a mover, always very active. So dancing was cool. It was great going through high school and all. And then I had the spark of I want to take this up like a notch. Let's explore, like, okay, cool. You're a mover, you can dance, you do all these things pretty well. Also basketball, I'm sorry, like basketball was something really young too. Probably like 5 years old, 6 years old. Had a
Hmm.
ball in my hand always. Dad used to take me to the park. It was cool, it was fun. Um, as the years went by 16, 17, I got really serious with basketball, I want to say, as well as dance. Um, at that point, I was just eating, sleeping, training, eating, sleeping, training, eating, sleeping, training. Went through the whole like ball is life phase.
Hmm.
It was cool. That was fun as well.
Was there like a goal at that point when you were playing ball? You're like, let me try and play college ball, or was it
Yeah,
just college ball?
yeah. College ball was like the aim, but I was never really that good
Mm.
back then. At least I don't think I had the guts for it, nor did I think I had like the confidence for it.
But you just really enjoyed playing.
I really enjoyed playing, and we are in a small little Armenian school too. So going out and playing out there, you think like you can compete. There's like a level in which you can compete. Very soon we found out that was not the case. Even though we did pretty well in our tournaments once we joined the tournaments,
Hmm.
actually. So that was fun as far as that goes. So basketball became like this thing. Like, yeah, I'm gonna aim for basketball. I had a couple of really bad injuries,
Mm.
and those injuries kind of just like, what are you gonna do? You can't play basketball. You
It
can't
happened
move
while you were playing.
while I was playing basketball.
Mm.
Yeah. So it was like that first heartbreak feeling, like, oh my God, my first love, I can't play this anymore. So I kind of stepped away. And at that time, I was still like going to the gym and training, but it was nothing serious. Like I like enjoyed it. Um, and then I kind of was like, okay, all my energy's got to go to something. Was never really the scholastic kid, not really the scholar per se. I had a great relationship with all the teachers, but not really like the learner of the class. You know what I mean? Um, so training became a thing. I started really putting all my energy and time into training in the gym. Started putting a lot of energy and love into my body. Always have been very health cautious. I want to say very nutrition cautious. In the household, also we always eating pretty well. So it's not something that was left wing for me. But it kind of just came in. And I was like, okay, this is what you're going to focus your energy on now. Like this feels good to you. Going to the gym, working out, feeling good in the body, and then you see results and things start changing there. So basketball kind of became secondary, training became first, but it wasn't to the point where I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. but I kind of always knew that I was either going to be in physical therapy. That's kind of what I would always say as a younger teen. Like physical therapy, I would be in the health sciences, maybe teach high school basketball, something along those lines, until it got to a point where people came and started asking me questions like every time I show up into a gym. Like, dude, like what are you doing? Like that looks cool. Like that looks great. Like and you look really fit. Like what's going on? I was like, well, you can come on with me if you want to try like doing these things. So I kind of had like the gym buddies,
Hmm.
like you looked forward to going to the gym and these guys were always there and you'd want to they'd want to hang out and kind of feed off of each other. And that was great. Like that was the first time I experienced that community thing of something outside of school that felt like, oh, okay, I'm doing something on my own and building a community here. It's not dance, I'm not going to this Armenian dance school where all of us are friends
Hmm.
and it's a whole new thing. So that was like the first time I was like, okay, maybe I'm good at this. Maybe this is working out for me. People want to learn from me and want my information and um, me vice versa, of course. So I kind of just took that and I was like, okay, cool. And I just kept going with that. And then whatever flowed through that route kind of just turned into what it is today in a way.
How long would you say you had been kind of going to the gym training on your own before you started having people approaching you saying, hey, what's going on? What are you doing?
So I've been in the gym since I was like 14,
Mm.
15. So I want to say by the time I was 18, maturity hits, testosterone starts spiking. At that point, body starts changing. Um, I think it was around 18 or 19, like post high school years.
Was it like similarly aged kids approach, or did some of them look like actual like adults, older, coming and asking? Hey,
No, pretty much like adults, kids, um, anybody really. It
that's
was
pretty
just,
cool. I mean, to
yeah.
be that young and having people older saying, "Hey, like it seems like what you're doing is working. Can you show me?"
Yeah, that's like the first time you get that aha moment.
Yeah,
You're like, okay, I was just
yeah,
kind of in my introverted little world, like sorry, introverted in my little world, doing my thing, having a good time, and you want to know what I'm doing out of all these people?
right.
Okay, cool,
Yeah,
sure, why not? It becomes like a friendly, like conversational thing as well. And I love socializing, so that was like a cherry on the top for me too.
yeah, that is pretty cool. So,
Yeah,
I said from a young age, you've already kind of been, uh, health conscious. Is that
pretty much.
was that like were you kind of raised like that, or you yourself just kind of for whatever reason gravitated towards it?
I think I just gravitated towards it.
Interesting.
Yeah. I have two older brothers.
Uh-huh.
Um, we're very different, all of us. They're also into sports, but as dramatic as yours is like, I want to say like constantly thinking about it and doing. No, no one really. I kind of became like the information feeder to the household.
Hmm.
Like guys, this is what healthy dieting looks like. When I started meal prepping for myself, for instance, this is like 18, 19. It's like, mom, no more salt in the food. Like no more butter in the food, whatever, whatnot at the time. Of course, I won't say that now because butter is great. Salt has its place too.
Mhm.
Um, but I kind of was like, like, what is this kid doing? Like, why are you having me make you food separately from the food that I'm making for the family?
Yeah.
But they didn't stop me there. And they're like, okay, no problem. I'll do this. And then they would see me come home and cook for myself and do all these things. So it was a combination, we were like a healthy family, sure. But I got really into it. Like I was really trying to like turn the dials on the little things and be like, okay, cool. How can I change this physique up? How can I look this way? How can I look this way? Of course, look was the thing you're aiming for when you're in the gym at the time. It's a whole, it's a whole
Right.
thing right there. But so yeah, kind of like started healthy and then got really, really like into it, brought the information home, and then just kind of like that morphed into this thing. And everyone all of a sudden around me started becoming a little healthier and more questions started coming in. And yeah, so it was cool. It was a nice feeling.
So when you were like the initial period of time when you were bringing in that information home, like you said, your family was like, okay, fine, we'll make it. But as you're sharing your thoughts on this isn't good, this is good, let's have
Sure.
this instead of that, what was the reaction? Was it receptive, or was it kind of like, eh?
In an Armenian family, nothing's always that receptive. Okay, but no, actually, I'm pretty happy to say they're pretty receptive. They were actually a little bit more curious,
Hmm.
which I liked, and which was cool for me because it gave me room to actually explore. Like the first time I came and told my mom, no more salt when you're making, let's say, your cutlet,
Mm.
or when you're making your toma,
Right.
whatever. Why? What's wrong with salt? And this is not proper information that I'm giving out right now, of
Yeah.
course, but at the time I thought salt per se was the thing to stay away from, high sodium
Mm.
stuff. And she was like, okay, interesting. And then I would eat stuff very bland. And at the time, I want to say I was very much so in a bodybuilding headspace. So bodybuilders were known kind of at the time to be like, okay, blind chicken, blind rice, blind chicken, blind rice, make it happen, make it happen, make
Mhm.
it happen, make it happen. I love my bodybuilder friends, so if anyone ends up listening to this, no worries there. But um, they were like, okay, cool. Like, there's no taste. You okay with this? I was like, yeah, I'm totally fine. I'm good. Like, the results are coming in. I'm fine as long as I get those results. And at that point, it's like they started shifting. They started making food a little bit less with salt or whatever. Olive oil started coming into the mix. No more butter. Cool. Oh, great. Avocado oil. Cool. So it was like this mesh. A mesh started happening. They were receptive to it, and they kind of moved with me. So they took the battalion kind of out of my hand. They're like, okay, cool. You're leading. We're coming with you, buddy. It was one of those.
That's pretty cool, especially like you mentioned, like within our community. That's what was one of the surprising things when I saw your profile. I'm like, this guy's Armenian, because we're
Interesting, right?
not that we're not health conscious, but I wouldn't say we're as health conscious as
Yeah,
maybe some other people are.
it's tough.
So and then like when I saw all the things you do, I'm like, I don't know if I know any other. I'm sure there are. I'm not saying you're the lone one, but I was like, I don't know if I know any other Armenian that's this, focused on what they eat, their exercises, and like we'll go into too, like also just the actual movements that you
Sure.
do. Like I think you were the first person when I saw. I'm like, this is a thing. Like I didn't even know that was like a focus to
Cool.
like how you do certain movements and things like that. I didn't know that was like a something that had a level of importance or value. So that was pretty interesting to me.
Very nice.
So you started kind of like that, but then how would you say you you got to where you are now, like even more, like like for example, animal flow? How'd that
Sure.
come up? Again, that's I just kind of recently found out what that was again through you.
Yeah. Honestly, like Animal Flow came to me specifically from a few friends. So not too long ago, a group of friends we had gotten together and we were kind of coaches. We're all coaches, and one was mentioning Animal Flow, one was mentioning kettlebells, and one was mentioning TRXs, just naming tools out of the
Mhm.
out of the bucket. But Animal Flow came to mind, and I saw this guy doing it, a good buddy of mine, Emin. And as he was doing it, I was like, yeah, that looks great. That looks exactly like what a human should be moving like. And it looked very primitive. It looked very like animalistic. It looked very natural. Sure, it has this like rigid lines that don't really attract me much, but just the general concept of it, I was like, oh, yoga, capoeira, put together, interesting. And this is like it's turned into a certification. There's courses for it you can go take. There's a proper way that they kind of present it to you in order for you to learn it and also teach it. So I was like, yeah, this is cool. This is great. So just kind of amongst friends, amongst coaches, everyone kind of puts their ideas in the pot. One person's interested in rock climbing, one person's interested in something else. And you as a person that's trying to be healthy, at least for myself, like I'm always trying to see like, okay, what can I add? What dimension can I put to the things that I'm already doing? Animal Flow came about. I was like, yeah, you come on over here. And I just kind of took it and applied it, and it's a beautiful practice, and I love it for sure. A lot of my clients love it too, and we have a nice little Animal Flow community actually that we all just kind of get together at parks and we'll just start flowing. It's nice.
Is that something you introduce to any of your clients, or is this something that like they have to kind of bring up, show interest to, or you're just like, hey, this is part of the regime?
So that's a good question. Some will, let's say, if I post it on Instagram, right?
Hmm.
Some of my clients would see, like, yo, what was that like ground movement stuff you were doing? Looked like a pretty funky, cool stuff. I was like, yeah, it's Animal Flow. You want to try it out? And we would get into it. There would be times that I wouldn't even mention it's Animal Flow, right? Like Animal Flow, cool. This is a school of thought, let's say. It's a certain thing. I don't have to mention this is Animal Flow. When I'm working with somebody, the names and stuff don't matter.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay, cool. Human, you need to move in these ways. Oh, cool. My library box goes into, oh, cool. Animal Flow has XYZ movement. Great. Put it right now. So sometimes I would slide it in and be like, oh, that was cool. I was like, yeah, it's part of this movement thing called Animal Flow, actually. And so kind of like a mix, a little bit of both.
Is that something that's difficult for the average person? Like the first time when you're showing your clients how to do it,
Yeah.
are they usually struggling with the movements?
Yeah, and that's why kind of like I try to kind of hold that as like a personal practice. And
Hmm.
if I see it fitting in a
Okay.
situation, it's just a tool in tool chest, right? So if I see it as fitting in a situation, tool chest, tool, apply. It works out well. But yeah, it's pretty difficult only because it kind of requires like this certain level of fitness already, and kind of like requires a certain understanding of coordination and movement and all. Um, but for those that are avid movers, it's kind of easy to adapt to, I would say. So for some more than others, of course, very specific.
Like some of the movements of it that I saw, it seems like it's pretty heavily predicated on your own ability to pretty much uphold your body.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
if you don't really have that strength to do that, then I feel like then you're probably at least gonna not initially be able to do. You have to do something to build your way up towards it.
Yeah, well, your body's your best tool, right? You were given a vessel, your consciousness essentially in flesh, and you can manipulate this thing in any way, shape, or form to feel things in different places. You lift your arm, you feel a stretch in some place. You get on the ground into a push-up position, all of a sudden you feel stimulus going into the arms, into the shoulders, into the neck, into the stomach, into the abdomen. So your body's essentially a tool. Um, and I've always loved that, the calisthenic approach, where it's just
Mm,
using your body as the main tool, as opposed to a dumbbell, a kettlebell,
right.
a TRX, whatever it might be. And just kind of being like, okay, cool. How can I use this thing before I learn how to use anything else externally on top of this thing? So that was very attractive, of course, to the eye. And you're absolutely right there. It's definitely a cool thing to experience in yourself, for sure.
With the amount of information that's out there,
Yeah,
like for example, calisthenics is a good way to go about it. Using the resistance bands is a good way to go about it. Like there's seems like everything is a good way to go about it.
yeah,
How would you like is this something like you kind of even advise towards your clients or people that you just know in general? How would you advise them to like kind of disseminate all that information, because there's so much like eat this, don't eat this
sure.
is good, this isn't good, and it seems like everything kind of conflicts the other. What's like a good way to approach that when you're trying to figure out if you want to make improvements? How do you go about it?
Keep it simple.
Hmm.
You know, like you said, like so many tools, you don't even realize like most of these tools are just made to sell. You know, they're just made to market. You put a nice good little sticker on there. You show a couple exercises with, oh, here we have the new best tool. This, like the stuff, the infomercials you'll see on
Hmm.
on TV. This is the best you tool. Burn your abs up in 10 minutes, dude. And like the shake weight came out, like all that stuff. And you're like, okay, guys, this is just tools. What I like to do for myself, very different. I may look at it as a different approach, but when helping somebody, as long as I can get this person to move from point A to point B, enjoy the process, do it in the simplest possible form, I've already won. So I never get like super, you have to use resistance bands, you have to use this. What is the goal? What is the intention? What am I trying to accomplish? What's the best tool to plug in there? For some, it's just breath work. For some, it's just literally stretching and hanging off of a barbell. What does the person need? Understand what the person needs, take it from there. Tools wise, I never really worry. I have a bunch of tools in my trunk that I travel around with, but I can go to a park, just have you and me. Here we go. What do you want to accomplish? How can I help you move forward? Pretty simple, you know? I don't try to like stir up the pot with here's this, here's this, here's that, here's this. It
Right.
makes no sense. It's just they're just objects, they're just tools.
And do you base what you're gonna do with that person uh on what they tell you they want to accomplish? So it's like, okay, I want to be able to do this, then you kind of know what to mold their routine and exercises around.
Essentially, well, of course there's always the underlying thing, right?
Right.
When I'm face to face with somebody, I'm assessing multiple things in my mind. And of course this is in a healthy manner. I do this to kind of, okay, cool. I could tell this person's a little stressed out. I could tell this person's overworked. Skin color is kind of not there, a little discoloration. Lips are super chapped, might be dehydrated. I'm looking at multiple things. So, oh, this person has a limp on his right leg. He's holding his back every 5 seconds. There's a behavior that keeps touching his back. So there's something going on there. So yeah, sure. There's like an assessment process of what do you want to do? What are you trying to achieve? Where are you trying to go? But there's also the things that you probably are blinded by or don't know about. So this is what you're presenting to me, the things you want to do. Great. But I'm also paying attention to all this. So yes, I'll always do, of course, what the person in front of me wants them to do. I'll show them the things that they want. In that process, I'll give them the things they need. And it just becomes a mesh of there. And it's always different on a daily basis. But the general understanding of where we're heading to is always kind of pretty clear.
Do you
Uh,
do only one-on-one, or do you have like group setting kind of stuff
I do group stuff too. I've done group stuff up to like 15 people, 16 people,
with just you as the instructor?
just me as the instructor. And it just kind of happened where I was working with someone one on one and they decided, hey, I'm going to call my entire family and some friends. Let's do this thing. I was like, oh, cool. Sounds good. Very tough, obviously, to manage that many characters and personalities and the energy in general. But it was fun. So, yeah, I love doing group sessions with like 2 people, 3 people. It just depends. Again, it's very intention based. Like, what are we trying to accomplish? What's the best fit for you? How can we get this done in the most efficient way, most cost effective way? Do you need private attention? Do you need, you know, is it funner for you to be in a group environment? Is the community aspect the thing that's making you do this?
Mm.
What might it be? You know, very personal, very individualized.
You touched on it, so I wanted to ask: in a setting like that, you have groups, you have more than one. Besides the personalities, just you yourself have to, be conscious of, okay, I've been maybe focused on this side for too much. What's going on here?
Yeah.
How? So based on the first time when the first group setting you had, and now, how were you able to kind of make your adjustments to be able to at least do your best to focus equally on the group
If I told you I had a formula for that, I'd be lying, you know? Like, I just,
through experience, probably.
I guess it's experience in a way. I think I find myself pretty easy to like communicate with or easy to like jive with. I keep it very fun usually. Like, I keep it light at the same time, but it's time to get serious, we get serious. So I guess it's just building rapport with people, kind of making sure everyone understands we're here for each other. We're here for each other's health, first and foremost. If you're here, there's an instructor. You probably want to do what the instructor's got, saying. I don't want to call myself the instructor either. I don't put that hat on and like,
Right.
all right, you do this, and none of that happens. So I guess the energy kind of dictates itself in a way. I just like mesh myself with what's going on, and if I find something that needs a little bit of attention, and even if I say, hey guys, like eyes over here, whatever it might be, just keep it very respectful, of course, and just make sure that you're there to have fun more than anything else, and everyone kind of understands that too, and the underlying energy of that, the tone, the delivery, kind of demands the respect and demands the okay, we're in this together. This is like a team thing. So I guess the energy just builds itself and kind of moves itself along at that point. Yeah.
And how long have you been doing like the personal training stuff now?
So I started personal training. I want to say, if I were to consider the first person I started working out with, I want to say the first time was maybe when I was 19, 20.
Mhm.
And then really officially, like full time, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm passionate about. This is my calling. This is purpose, helping other human beings. I want to say about 2 to 3 years now. 2 to 3 years. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you mentioned breathing a little
Sure.
earlier, and I saw, I think you put something of what's his name, Wim Hof. Is that what his
Yeah.
name
Yeah.
is?
Yeah.
So I've learned about that guy from Rogan. Like he
Cool.
was talking about him once, and then that's honestly maybe the first time I can recall learning that breathe, like the way you breathe, and certain rhythms and whatever are actually play a role. It's important. Otherwise, I just thought of it as like just like an automatic
Subconscious
thing.
thing,
Yeah,
right?
it just
It's crazy.
happens.
Yeah.
Okay, what is the importance of it?
It's everything. It's life. You know, your lungs kind of do it on their own. So you don't think about it really. It's a subconscious act. It's like, okay, your body's put on this planet, and it's built with such brilliance that the mechanism that which is the body understands that, okay, I got to keep breathing if I want to survive. So that thing keeps happening. You don't think about it. So what Wim Hof kind of brought out was conscious breathing. Now I'm conscious about the fact that I'm breathing. So how am I breathing? In fact, am I breathing too shallow? Am I breathing into my chest? Am I breathing into my stomach? Is the diaphragm working at all? Are none of these things working at all? Am I just like taking just coughing out? And then that's, of course, connected with how calm you are, how peaceful you are. That has a big effect on the nervous system. The autonomic nervous system essentially is built to protect you, like survival mode, fight or flight. All these things are tapped in there. The breath is essentially what keeps you calm, what doesn't keep you calm. Look at runners, for instance. If a runner is running, if he doesn't have a good breathing practice, or if he doesn't understand the basics of running, how can this person run?
Mm.
The nervous system stays calm. Or even boxers like Floyd Mayweather. Anytime you see him in a ring, it's hype. There's lights and everything around him, but this guy's just slow, calm, and his 60, 70 BPM is just chill. And, you know, so controlling the heart rate, controlling the mind, controlling your calmness, it kind of just, it brings you back to the present and to the now. So I think the importance of breath is everything. I think it starts from breath. It's at least one of the beginnings, one of the biggest pillars to health for sure.
And that can be found like yoga. It touches on that.
Absolutely. Yoga has, let's say, I don't know, a good buddy of mine who's a yogi has been teaching me some breaths that he's learned, some breathing practices he's learned in yoga. There's so many different kinds to
Mm.
breathe. Breathing in through one nose, letting it out the other. And there's a science to it all as well.
Yeah.
Breath of fire, which is very fast. It's all to generate energy within the body, all to also bring the nervous system and put it in your hands. So many ways. And yoga definitely does a good job of like encapsulating a lot of it. Yeah.
When you have like first a person that's coming for the first time too,
Sure.
of the number of people that you've seen, what percentage would you say like when they come and you kind of do an assessment, like maybe you're finding out like what's their routine like already? Do they exercise at all? How do they eat? What percentage would you say of the ones that come are like just bad habits already?
It's a mix. I want to say very rarely, actually.
Really?
Why? Because usually if someone's at the point where they're like, yo, I'm looking for help, like that contemplation period is over, I'm making the effort. I want to say at that point, there are some adjustments they've already started making,
Okay.
you know? So they're hitting you up from a place of, I'm hitting a wall or I need the next step from this. But also, there's, the case where it's always left field where the guy just knows he's been working his ass off for so long or whatever and just has bad eating habits and knows about it. And he's like, yep, this is what it is. I got bad eating habits. I love eating Butterfingers for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I don't take care of my body. I'm not stretching, doing any of these things. So yes, you'll get all of that. The percentage very slow. For me at least, it's been pretty minute. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe it'd be higher, but that kind of makes sense. Maybe specifically for personal training, because usually
Sure.
I feel like
Or maybe for me personally.
could be too.
Maybe I've been
Yeah,
just attracting a niche
that's
person.
possible.
Who knows?
Because like, even like now that I'm trying to think about it, like when at the gym when I'm like walking around and I'll see like the personal training section, it's not like people that look completely out of shape, but they're something's there. There's work to be done, but it's not like completely like, oh man, like there's a lot to there's a lot that needs to be done here.
Sure. Sure.
So I guess that kind of makes sense too.
Yeah. But humans,
Yeah.
anything's possible.
I saw a crazy. It was actually today. I saw this crazy stat. I mean, I know obesity was not ideal in America, but
Jesus.
I saw. What was the source? I can't remember. It said like 70% of Americans are overweight.
Correct. Of which 36 are about obese.
Yes, yes. That's the obese number I knew, but I didn't realize the overweight figure was well above the majority.
Yeah. That's a very like touchy topic for me only as well, because it brings a lot of anger inside of me, but at the same time, I have so much compassion and so much empathy for like the people that say that fall into that 70 percentile. I have people in my family, and most people that come to me are those that, let's say, wanted to have weight loss, right? That's like the most common thing you'll hear around. Um, it's an interesting thing. It just makes you wonder. Like it's always made me wonder as a kid too. I'm like, 70%. And that thing was obviously slowly climbing. So it's like maybe when I was in high school, that was at 60% and it just skyrocketed. But I was, wow, how can like 60% of a population be overweight? Like, is there not information going out about this? Are people not educated about this? Do people not care about their health? Everyone cares about their health. All I see people around me are like, they're just thinking about their health, doctors, this, that. It just never made sense. Then you dive a little deeper, you realize this system is not built for you to be healthy, unfortunately. This system is not built to teach you things like fasting, because unfortunately fasting costs no money. You know what I mean? It's its own
That's a
thing.
good point.
You know what I mean? But there's so many studies that you can bring about a fasting where it's like the oldest healing tool. Let's go back to Jesus. Let's go back to certain religions that implemented fasting into. I'm not religious in any way, shape, or form. I respect religions for sure, but it's been something that's been around for a long time. But something as simple as that, something as easy as just not eating, being so inexpensive to do and just based off of your own willpower and ability, because your body will come in and support you through that process. Why are so many people overweight? Like it just doesn't make sense. And that hit me hard. Hit me really hard.
When did you say this was? When you were thinking that was? Did you say high school?
Probably high school, closer to like the ends of high school, because you would go to the gym and you just see people like super overweight. I grew up having people, like I said, in my family overweight, and I was always like, okay, on the lookout. Maybe if I start doing this, they'll start taking care of themselves. Parents are only getting older; they're not going to get any thinner. Like there is like norms that you kind of can foresee happening. So I just kind of saw all that and positioned myself in a way where I was like, okay, cool. I'm just going to be the epicenter of health. So if any of these people come to me, then I have a way of like shifting them out. But yeah, I don't know. It's a touchy subject, pretty touchy subject. Again, I got a lot of anger when it comes to that thing. Not to the people, not to the
Right.
people, but as to how the country, or I want to say how the system has allowed for that to actually happen and not do anything about it and keep McDonald's is open and keep Taco Bell's open and keep like all these fast food joints open and just keep pushing fast food. Like you go down one street, a Subway here, a Subway here, a Subway here, a Subway here, Taco Bell in the middle, McDonald's in the middle, Burger King is right there on the corner, and they're just all like, you know, it's crazy. And I was fasting actually for the last,
I was just about to ask. Yeah, you just finished like what, yesterday?
yeah, yesterday. So that was a 90-hour fast. It's the longest one I've done so far, and I feel great, felt great. But when you're fasting and you're driving down the street, at least for me, I was like, okay, cool. Human that's not, look at myself from the third person in that sense. Like human that's not in any way, shape, or form tampered by food. So hormones are all in place and stable. I'm stable in mind. I've been doing a lot of meditation, doing a lot of breath work. So I'm calm, I'm present, I'm here. Driving down the street and you realize, okay, cool. Beautiful colors, beautiful colors, beautiful colors, gorgeous marketing. They call kind of all have like this similar vibe to it. $2.99 for chicken nuggets and burgers. And they've made it so cheap where it's like, of course, dude. Like it's so cheap. I'm gonna gravitate to this thing. But then you realize, like, holy crap, if I put a McDonald's burger out for a year, that thing doesn't change its shape. Or the bun doesn't even rot. Like it's the same thing from last year this time to this year this time. So all these thoughts were like rambling in my head, just looking at this food. I was like, well, this is how they did it. You know, money came into the middle of it, of course. And that's it. If it doesn't make money, then we don't want to do it. And it's nice to see now more and more people kind of becoming more health cautious and kind of taking the steps of like, okay, I'm a temple. Let me take care of this thing. But to still see things like McDonald's and Taco Bell being places people go to eat willingly, not to say that obviously there's a certain group of people that just can't afford buying really good food.
Mm-hmm.
But you could take the money you're spending at McDonald's, literally go to a supermarket. You may not buy the most organic food, but you buy something better than McDonald's. You know what I mean? But that whole like fast paced thing, and it's the society just like fast, 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 fast. I got to go from point A to point B, so I got to stop by McDonald's. It's gonna take me 2 minutes. Perfect conveyor belt,
Mm.
like that whole rat race like feeling. And I feel like these are all the things that have kind of poured into that pot that have made it so difficult to penetrate, you know. And that's why you see the numbers like 70%.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I know it's not good, but I actually love those two places you mentioned. And it's what's funny though, because you mentioned like the cost of it, right?
Tastes great though, right?
It does. Yeah.
Crack.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Literally.
Yeah.
It
But
is
it's
what
not
it
even
is.
that cheap anymore. That's what's interesting. They have like the individual items they'll market, or like for example, they'll put like $10, 10 McNuggets for $1, or 2 for $5, right? The Big Mac, whatever.
Yeah.
But then you go and then you're like, okay, I don't want the Big Mac and I don't want the McNugget. I want the chicken sandwich, whatever. You go, okay, I want the combo, I want the drink. It's like comes to like $8, $9.
Yeah. So there,
It's like, isn't this McDonald's?
I haven't been long enough to be able to tell you,
Yeah,
but
it's
there you
it's
go.
crazy, right? It's because I went not that long ago, and I'm like, because I don't know why I wanted McDonald's over In and Out, and I went. I'm like, dude, In and Out would have been cheaper.
Yeah.
And it's still fast food, but it's a better
100%.
version.
I would say so. Family owned, they're kind of like controlling how the food's getting there.
Yeah,
So for sure, it
it's not
tastes.
franchise.
Yeah, it's, they got potatoes actually being chopped up
Mhm.
over there. So there's levels to it, of
Right.
course. But dude, McDonald's,
I know.
you know what I mean? Like Taco Bell, like you're getting trashed.
I don't even know what it is. That's the thing. Like,
No one knows what it is. I don't think they even know what it is. I don't think the employees even they're working know what it is. Wasn't it like Taco Bell a couple of years ago? They got busted for having like um, most of their meat product not being even real meat.
It
You
sounds very familiar. It's
right?
possible.
I think it was Taco Bell that got busted for it.
I think not too long ago I was watching it was a Burger King commercial, and they wrote like all natural beef or something, or they wrote it was beef, and I think the beef above the F had like the trademark or had like a letter or something. I'm like, why is that there? Like,
Interesting.
how do you? And then I think I looked into it. I think it's like it was because it was like a formulation of different things making it, and it's possible I'm entirely wrong. So hopefully I'm not slandering them, but
I'll check
I
it
feel
out.
like I looked at it, I'm like, because the first thing I remember I saw that I'm like, this is bizarre, and then when I looked I'm like, okay, that's gross.
Mm,
But that's the other thing that's weird is like, speaking personally, and I'm sure a lot of people too, no one goes there thinking
sure.
this is going to be a healthy meal, but you still go. I still go, I'll eat it and I'm like, this was good, and I'll leave, and I still end up going, and I'll still end up going, but again, it's like, it isn't great, and it's not even all that cheap anymore depending what you get. but yet it's still. Is there something that's just addictive in it?
Absolutely.
No.
I think absolutely. Now my question to you is on this guy. Like when you eat it,
Mm.
right? You're like, okay, this tastes so good.
Mm.
Like it's great. It's almost like chemically perfected to
Mhm.
hit my taste buds in like this specific way.
Right.
You know? It's kind of like going to a casino and knowing they have no clock and the
The
beautiful
windows are
smell.
closed. AC's pumping oxygen in.
Correct. People are coming next to you. Would you like a drink? You have charge, cigarettes, whatever you need. I'm here. Just keep putting your money in that little machine and keep pulling that trigger. Keep pulling that trigger. Like it kind of has that
Yeah.
vibe to it, yeah?
Yeah.
But when you engage in gambling sometimes, or when you go to Vegas every here and there, and you're like, okay, I'm not a gambler, but I'm gonna sit down and play like $100, $200. What? This feels great. Great. It has its place. It's here on planet Earth. It was created by humans. I'm sure, like, if it's not terribly bad, and it's one I like, you know what? I want just some McDonald's. I'm gonna go have McDonald's.
Right.
Great. Whatever. If it's a repetitive thing, then you ask yourself, dude, am I addicted to this stuff? Like, am I plugged into the system right now? Like, am I drinking the Kool-Aid? Because that's what Kool-Aid is. Where did that term even come along? Oh, you're drinking the Kool-Aid? Kool-Aid was just that. It's a super sugary drink that gets you even more dehydrated and just hooks you onto the taste. So interesting year. I got a question for you now. When you have like McDonald's and like you have Taco Bell and all, what's like the initial couple thoughts for you personally?
Like when I'm eating it.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. This is great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
How about after?
Okay.
Post 5 hours, post 10 hours, post 24 hours.
I feel like I might be an anomaly. Usually, I surprisingly feel fine.
Okay.
Surprisingly.
Okay.
So that might not have been the answer you were expecting. But again, I know I've spoken with many people because Taco Bell, like of late, I'm like Taco Bell propagandist.
Okay.
Like I'm like, this is where people need to go. And a lot of the people I
It's
tell,
so funny.
they're just like, not Taco Bell, dude. I'm like, what do you mean not Taco Bell? Or they'll be like, yeah, Taco Bell, but I'll get like my brother-in-law will be like, I get the Crunchwrap with the black bean. I'm like, then why are you getting it? I'm like, get the beef.
Yeah.
He's like, no, man. He's like, no, the beef messes with me. And I'm like, okay, you're not the only one that's told me that.
Cool.
And I'm sure a lot of people feel that way. And for whatever reason, at least for now, maybe at some point, but for now, it doesn't mess with me. And
Okay.
I'll admit like a gross amount of it that I've had in one setting.
Amazing. What's about Taco Bell? Because I have a lot of friends that were like all about like, of all the fast food places, Taco Bell is the spot.
You know why I started going is because of that box they introduced, that $5 box.
Interesting.
That's the only reason, and that's how they hooked me, and I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Probably cinnamon twist, if I
remember
correctly. Excuse me. Cinnamon twist. It was like
burrito,
gordita or something.
Yeah, and the thing is, they keep it fresh. They keep rotating it. It's not always the same one. It's to the point where, like, so when I lived in Ohio, because I went to school there, and I was working there at the time, and then on the main road from where my apartment was, there was a McDonald's and a Taco Bell like right by each other.
Cool. So
when the $5 thing started happening, I was like, okay, cool, I'll go get it. And I'd go get it, and okay, whatever. And things, I wouldn't get one, I'd get two.
Cool.
So I'm like, oh, it's only $5, so I'll get two of them, and I have all of this, and I would eat it all.
Look at that.
Yeah, and I would eat it all. And surprisingly, still didn't feel like, I felt bloated, but I didn't feel like crap after. So again, I don't know how. And then the even more astronomical amount. So think about it. So that was, again, it almost always has the 3-layer burrito, whatever it's called. It has a cinnamon twist or chips. It has
I could see like
I know, I'm salivating.
I love it.
It has the hard taco, which I always sub for a soft taco. I don't like the hard taco. And then maybe, and then that last one they'll switch it out. It might be a what's the thing called? It's a taco, but it has like a hard shell over. It has a soft shell over the hard shell, whatever. And they'll always swap it out.
The cheesy gordita crunch.
There you go.
Nice.
I think that's what it is.
Why do I know this? Don't ask.
Yeah.
It's okay. I used to partake in these activities, of course.
So that's that. And then McDonald's, I don't know, this one blew my mind. So they introduced this other thing. Again, I think this was maybe a local thing. So the one, again, right there, and because since it was close to Cleveland, they had it in a Cleveland Indians box. It was, I'm not joking, 2 Big Macs, 2 double cheeseburgers, a 10-piece McNugget, 2 small fries, so that's 7 items. That's 7 items. That's a total of like what, 6 patties, 8 patties for $13. All of that for $13. So then when me and my roommate, because when you're college student, like, I get all this crap for $13. I don't even want it all, but it's $13.
Sure.
We just go and eat it.
Sure. Yeah, and that's what they've done.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's what a perfect system, is it not? But like, does it make you question, like, okay, if I'm paying $13 for all this food, how is this even like?
Oh yeah.
How much does it cost them to put this together?
That's insane, right? That's like
Yeah,
that's less than $1 per item that they're
sure.
putting out.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you have to wonder. It's like, okay, how can it be that cheap?
And I know they're working a quantity too, so it's like the more quantity you work, the price, the margins, whatever, whatnot. But still,
It's like, isn't it an animal product still? It's like, how do you get it that cheap? Or is it like the absolute most vile part of the animal that's getting thrown in there? Entirely possible.
well, that's something we've always heard about hot dogs, right? Specifically, that was the one thing I remember in high school, or was it like middle school, the hot dog uh, pamphlet that kind of dissected
Mm,
where pork snots and all this stuff.
mm,
I want to mention all of it, but it's kind of like that. We're like, yeah, where's this food coming from? Is this actually real food? Is this actual fuel? Is this genetically modified, or is this how humans were intended to eat? And if that's the question, it's definitely not how humans were especially intended to eat. But then you have, science that comes into the play, being able to feed numerous amounts of people in order to protect the probability of starvation to happen on the planet. You have cheap options as
mm,
such. And that's why, let's say, that's maybe a good option. Use the science, put it to use. Let's get food out to everybody. You know what I mean? We're donating food X, Y, and Z. But I also think we're at a time and point in life where no one should be hungry. No one should be homeless. You know what I mean? Like there's enough money out there for people to get this stuff done. But for that sake, perhaps sure, we found out a way to modify this, modify that, make the shelf life of this a little
mm.
longer. Get 20% beef and make it look like it's 100% beef.
Right.
Add some other things to it. Maybe it's cauliflower, maybe it's lentils, peas, whatever it might be. Um, okay, use it for the right cause. But pumping it into people's blood, I don't know how I feel about that. Having fun with it and enjoying your time with it, great. I love it. I'm all about humans having a good time and people having a good time. I love Del Taco. I love Del
The
Taco.
taco's gross.
ED. I don't know. I was always a Del Taco, not the Taco Bell guy. Soft tacos hit the spot for me. Um, but funny enough, I used to be the guy that used to eat double cheeseburgers from McDonald's in between basketball practice.
Nice.
So we'd have like a 4-hour basketball practice, double cheeseburger in between.
You gotta fuel up.
I guess. So I don't know. I don't know if it just makes sense to like go about it. I would like to build some awareness around that amongst people.
I'm not sure if there's a resolution though, because now thinking through it now, because it's not that there's a lack of resources.
There is none.
There's so
No,
much information on.
absolutely.
There's very prominent documentaries that come out, not just about McDonald's, but the one that comes off top of my mind is Super Size Me.
Sure.
Yeah, and then they make another one. They make a
Sure.
second one about chicken. But
Yeah.
then you have like all these other like the ones that, and I'm not like saying veganism is like what people should
The
like
Game
think when I
Changers.
said.
Is that where you're going?
There was another one. It was like a not Animal Farm. It was one of those where it shows like the slaughtering of the animals. I'm not for that either. I would I'll always eat meat if and when I have the option and I know, like at least when I lived on my own, right, and I'd go shopping, I would try to get like the thing that wasn't like butchered royally, but at the
Sure.
same time, it's like we're relying on this label.
Sure.
Otherwise, like we really
Yeah, you're
don't
so right.
know. So I like naively, I'm like, I hope this is what it is, and I'll get it.
Sure.
But even then, it goes to like the price thing too. It's like, well, maybe I don't want to get something that's like butchered in the worst way possible, but
Sure.
also like I don't have any other option.
Yeah.
But then, so given all that, it's like the information is there. It says why this is bad, all of that, and the numbers just keep going up.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's an actual resolution to
I
it.
think we're too deep.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's because and then for me the way I don't think there's also I don't think it's right to like slap like mandates on the companies
Sure.
just because I'm like capitalistic like that. Like I can't justify you telling them like, hey, you got to stop serving. It's like, well, why? Well, it's bad for people. Well, it's their own choice.
Sure.
But then it's like, well, is it their own choice? Because if they start eating it enough, is there something in there that's hooking them? Maybe that aspect there's something to be said about it. Like if they can prove, hey, there's something you're actually adding that's addictive.
Correct.
Again, maybe there's something there. But other than that, it's like, okay, we have the resources, all the knowledge is there that this is bad,
Yeah.
these are good,
Yeah.
But people still do it.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, I think if a person has his own mind, they have the ability to kind of go through
Yeah,
research
there
and
you
all
go.
that, right?
There you go.
So if you have that with you and you realize like, okay, no narrative can come in between me and myself. I'm not going to follow the narrative of the media. I'm not going to follow the narrative of whoever XYZ might be. I'm going to do my own research. You have Google, which is a beautiful tool that can be used for absolutely anything except self-diagnosing yourself. That's just deadly. But you can research these things on your own and kind of figure this out on your own if you really, really wanted to. it comes to a point of you have to realize that in a way, even your choice sometimes is not your choice because subliminally, maybe subconsciously, there is something guiding you to make those choices. And where this is the healing process comes into play, where breath work, meditation, yoga, and all these things come to play to find oneself and to find oneself in a center in order to make better decisions from that center. So, this is a great point now. If these things were told to people, hey guys, let's focus some time on self-empowerment. I'm going to give you tools. These are tools, recreation centers, XYZ, that are going to be hosting yoga classes, breathwork sessions, fitness sessions, basketball, whatever it might be. All self-improvement tools. All tools for you to be able to step in, become a better person and individual. You go make a decision on what you want to do. You don't see that happen often.
I don't think that's anywhere.
Well, this is why I do what
In
I
any
do.
public institution, at least, right? That's something you would think is. I'm not saying get into the grassroots of it, but just
Sure.
at least just mention it and say these are some resources.
Correct.
Even I think that extent of you literally not doing anything, you're just simply handing it off. Here's the information and go do what you will with it.
Correct.
That already you may at least shift it from like 70 to 65, let's say, from taking it.
How often in recent time have you heard the media talk to you about anything about how to strengthen your immune system, one, or how to eat properly? They had McDonald's passing out COVID tests. You
Really?
know, they had McDonald's passing out free McDonald's if they were to get COVID tests. Like there was some partnerships like that happened around town. That's tough to see. Hold on, isn't this about people's health? You know what I mean? It's a conversation I don't even want to get into.
Yeah.
You know, it's touchy little subject there.
Very messy.
Very messy, super messy, and I stay out of it. I'm just about people's health at this point. But I don't think there's enough information flowing freely. I don't think there are enough big names, or I don't think there are enough people out there trying to make, like, I don't know. They're more likely to take an NBA athlete and slap them on a Gatorade commercial. You know what I mean? As opposed to having an NBA athlete go out and talk about holistic health, how to strengthen yourself, how to engage in this XYZ. You know what I mean? And that's tough.
Yeah.
You know, which is honestly one of the reasons why I decided to take this line, because I'm traveling this line for myself more so than anything, right? I'm trying to become as healthy as I can. I'm trying to understand what's happening as much as I can. And at the same time, as I become healthier, to become more of service to the people around me and kind of just toss these ideas out there. Here's some stuff that I've came up with. Here's some stuff that I've came up with. What do you think? And it just obviously that brings people in. And you're like, dude, if people just had this information, they do it, especially from a younger age. But
that's the key.
You're given Lunchables when you're a kid here.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You have Capri Sun when you're a kid here. Like these things that had the commercials that you were at home. I was a Capri Sun lover. I was a Lunchables lover.
Lunchables was great.
Shit, even now, sometimes I'd love to go grab like a Lunchables from 7, like just a nostalgia.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, look at the things they were giving us. Whose fault is that? Is it our parents' fault for being like, oh, here's a Lunchable? No, because that's what the narrative shifted into the mass media, and that was in everybody's home. People thought this was okay. No one was going and doing research on, what's a Capri Sun made of? You know, there's also, of course, like a collective consciousness thing with all this evolving for sure. But I think that's just like, again, whatever information you're given, then that's what you're gonna do. And the fork in the road, right? At that point, you're given an option. Okay, you're gonna go right or you're gonna go left. You know that there's healthier options now. What are you gonna keep doing? That's the fork in the road, in my opinion, right there. Really? So as kids, if we were kind of educated on it, how to go grocery shopping, a simple task. How to go grocery shopping, how to go farming, how to create your own self-sustainable farm, how to grow your own cucumbers, veggies, or whatever it might be at home. Simple tasks that anyone prior to us, our ancestors, had knowledge of just by existing. Because you'd be home, you'd get out, you'd go to the farm, you'd pick your vegetables, you'd pick your fruits, you'd do whatever you had to do. Or there was a farmer's market. There was no such thing as organic, non-organic.
It just was.
It's organic. This is food that grows from the damn soil. We eat it.
Yeah.
But all these things have shifted, all these things have shifted. And it's sad to see, like, it's still continuing and efforts are still not being made to kind of push things to the opposite direction. And then you'll have, of course, the group of people, right, that are like doing the farmers markets and hosting these kinds of awesome places for people to go. Like just the other day, we had gone to a farm to pick our own fruits and veggies. What an experience that was.
I'm sure.
You know what I mean? Like, awesome. I get to touch these things, like to see how they were grown in the ground, to see the process behind it, them plowing the soil, whatever it might be. Like, That's a whole thing that our parents and even grandparents maybe have gone through and lived and seen. They didn't have this information being flooded to them. It was just a way of being. So life shifted this direction somehow. And especially I think in the States,
Hmm.
life shifted here. Everything became a money making machine and people kind of just went along with it. And most people just lost the knack to question things, I assume. And most people perhaps just forgot, like, whoa, I still have a power of choice,
Right.
you know? And interestingly enough, another point, like if our parents or grandparents or ancestors have grown up eating a certain way, they had their own cow outside perhaps. You'd walk out to the shed, your cow's right there, you'd milk it, come back, drink the milk right there and there. You know? They've experienced that life. They've experienced the natural, the organic, the all natural, style of living, way of living. When they came to America, something happened for them too, where they decided, like, yo, everything is made quicker here. We can get milk that has a shelf life of 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Eggs don't go bad. Cheese and all that stuff doesn't, like, things were different.
Right.
And they adapted to that. Sometimes not questioning, holy cow, we were doing it the right way. We came here, that all fell apart because we were just going with the land of opportunity or the way America kind of had it intended and planned for us, for the society to function properly, of course. So again, I think it's information based. Whatever information you feed to people, that's the information someone will hold, and then they make a choice. If you're not giving someone the proper information or the right information, did that person really have a choice? Or is it just what they were conscious of at the time? You know?
You touched it. I think that the key is the earlier you can get the information in,
Exactly.
but then again, it doesn't get in. They don't. You're not share. It's not shared unless it comes from the home. Then that's a different story. But
Correct.
again, for it to come from the home, then yeah, you're assuming then the adults haven't already been, accept the adults haven't already accepted what was fed,
Yeah.
through through that narrative.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I don't. Yeah, like we said, I don't. It's bleak at best to see a change.
Sure.
There has to be some type of intervention, I think, for
Sure.
that even to be feasible. And
Sure.
at that point, I don't even know like how much of it can be justified, because then that's a whole different question of, okay,
Correct.
all that stuff.
Correct.
Yeah, it is. I'm telling you, when I saw that percentage today, I was like, and it was just very funny, like that we were gonna talk today, and I saw that today. I wasn't even looking for it. I just saw it on the forum. I was like, holy crap, that's where it's at now.
And you're wondering why so many people are going down with heart disease and all that kind of stuff. And, like, of course, like, there it is. Disease comes from dis-ease. Your
Yeah,
body's at dis-ease. What's the easiest way to get into dis-ease in the body? Eating shitty food.
and it's crazy because I think so. We kind of are. You already kind of touched it. So through all this, like the way you end up getting conditioned with what's around
Yeah,
you,
for
with
sure.
the pretty colors and stuff, are it's just
100%.
already embedded.
Psychologically,
Yeah,
chemically
yeah.
created
You're
right
just
there.
accepted as is. Like
Exactly.
there's no thought. The
Correct.
other thing that it was a bizarre moment. It hit me. It was relatively not that long ago. It was maybe a couple years ago where I actually like noticed. I'm like, dude, there's a lot of fat people around me.
Yeah.
Not, I don't even just mean at home. I'm just like walking around. I'm like, I didn't realize how fat people were, and I think it's just because you're just so used to it. For whatever reason, maybe I was like watching stuff, then it hit me. I actually like looked around. I'm like, wow, okay, I'm
Yeah.
starting to see that 1 in 3 of the obesity.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see back then maybe I don't know half
Yeah.
of the people being overweight,
Yeah.
and it's just like, oh crap.
It's happening.
And the thing is, again, you don't realize it because it's just so prominent.
Yeah.
It might be more strange to the eye to see a bunch of conditioned people at this point, because you're like, wait, what the hell's going on here?
Correct. Though. And there's, countries like Russia and other smaller countries out there in Europe that they don't function this way, dude.
Hmm?
Like, they're still living on very, like, Switzerland, for instance, Sweden. I'm not sure of the specifics, of course, I can dive in, but just even interacting with people of different nationalities and being like, yo, how's it back? Like, not like this. Like, even France is known to have, like, the vibe of, like, yeah, everyone goes and gets their fresh baguette from their
Right, right.
bakery, like, that all exists. Here, you're looking for those small bakeries that are taking the all natural. And you're like, oh my God, yes, this person's farm fresh to table.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's very normal um, outside of the States. And why is that? What's the purpose and reasoning behind that? Why in a place where free information is everywhere do people gravitate? Most people gravitate, the 70% gravitate to just not being healthy. I don't blame them. Like I said, you can't blame them. It's can't. What can you blame? The only thing I can blame is how much effort is being put into getting this information to the masses or into the mass media.
Yeah.
And that's just stuff that just doesn't happen.
Well, the media is just so, it can be so toxic too in different ways.
Yeah.
Because like the thing now that maybe you've seen too is like the whole like the body positivity thing. I don't know. Do you see this whenever it's like people that are like just like overweight to say the least,
Hmm.
but they're like, it's my body, I'm proud of.
Correct.
It's like, okay, let's like the positive merit here is like, okay, yes, it is your body, yes, be proud of yourself, but also don't pitch it as in like if you are truly happy with how you are, whatever, like your own you are your own person, that's your own prerogative, but don't pitch it as like I'm healthy,
Correct.
and maybe they're not, but again, it's weird to hear as someone, because it's like, again, it's your thing, but it's like, why? Besides the look of it, it's like it's not good for you. So, but then when did this? I feel like this body positivity thing is fairly recent. Again, I think there's merits in being body positive, but then if you're like overweight, morbidly obese, frankly, for some of the people, it's like, why are we? And then they'll like, they'll idolize them. They'll put them on magazines, like that one singer that's like crazy fat, and it's like, okay, but do you realize what you're pitching here now is like, it's a dual-edged sword. You're saying body positive, maybe there's a good thing there, but then you're putting someone super fat on a magazine, like, and then putting them like on this pedestal that it's saying like, look at her embracing herself
Which is a great thing, embracing yourself.
to an extent
Sure.
over here,
Great.
right? And then you're not as like a young kid that likes the singer, for example, you're looking like, wow. It's like, yeah, but she takes up the entire magazine cover. Isn't this baffling to you? Like, there's a reason, but then no, it's pitched as like a good thing, and
Well, let's look at the industries that kind of that started doing that. Let's look at the modeling industry as a whole.
Mm.
Being having been a part of it for a very small amount of time in a short period of time.
that's on the complete extreme end too of it.
Complete extreme
Yeah.
end of it. But it's it's a selling point, and there are thousands and millions of people that pay attention to these things and idolize after people. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's a very dangerous thing because sometimes you don't realize subconsciously why you're idolizing someone. You know, for instance, I don't want to say idolize, but I look at people as mentors.
Mm.
Like some of the podcasts that I listen to, I'll be like, okay, this person has qualities that I'm after.
Right.
And then I'll assess, like, what are those qualities that I'm actually after? Are they aligned with who I actually think I am? Have I even questioned that? There's a level of self-reflection you have to do and self-understanding and kind of like seeking you kind of have to do to come across these things to then pay attention to something. How many people are aimlessly just paying attention to things because it's entertaining? You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's all it is. I think it's entertainment. That's how the media's kind of won people over too. I feel like you would agree with that, considering you mentioned how toxic it is
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. But it's all a selling machine, dude. Like that's all it is. So they can put anything on a magazine, and all of a sudden you're gonna have a group of people. It's like um, in high school, like when you go out to lunch, it's like these kids are sitting here, these kids are sitting here. It's cliques. That's just how humans operate. Cliques will always form. Some will be more extreme than the others. At the end of the day, like we're all humans. We're all here experiencing one thing. We're all connected together. In my opinion, I believe that to be true. We're all just a different form of consciousness in a way, but to put a label on this and glorify this and label on this and glorify this and label on this and glorify this. Yeah, there are the people that are seeking for the label to attach to, you know what I mean? And that gives them identity. And that builds like that, yes, I'm a part of this thing, whatever it might be.
Mhm.
And some unconsciously and some subconsciously, So yeah, putting, let's say someone that's overweight or obese on a magazine cover, I have nothing to say about that. Like, do it, great, but just that's the outcome it's going to
Yeah.
bring.
Or think, if you want to
Cause and
flip it,
effect,
someone that's
cause and
even
effect.
very skinny too is also not, and
Yeah.
that's like you were mentioning, that's the side of them, modeling too. It's like,
It's cause and effect.
yeah,
Correct. And remember at a time there was a point where like um, most models looked like they were anorexic kind of, and that became a thing. Like anorexia then became a thing. Girls were trying to look kind of anorexic. I mean, I don't know what it's like to be a girl. Of course,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to comment on
Right.
that at all. But from the outside looking in, there's things that we're susceptible to. Like some men are always like looking at those guys and we're being like, oh, I want to be more like this guy, macho. So it's very, there's ways you'll find similarities there, but it just cause and effect. They saw it, they saw them glorified and put onto a stage and running on a runway, and they're like, oh my God, mom, look, I want to do that one day. Oh, and the next thing you know, that girl goes on to be a model, and the agency's telling them, well, I think you're not fitting in your dress.
Right.
And all of a sudden this person's like tampering with their health. to look a certain way, and you're seeing so much of that also come out. So it's just a hodgepodge of narratives, dude.
Yeah.
A hodgepodge of narratives, and it's just don't get caught up in the narratives kind of thing.
And now they're flipping it entirely. Like, so, like, what's that? Victoria's Secrets has that. What is it? The annual thing is like what the bikini walk, whatever the
Sure.
hell. The thing they do. It's
Sure.
always like
Mind
once
if
a
I
year.
take my shoes off, by the way?
Go for it, dude.
Awesome. I like having my feet on the rug.
Yeah, go for it. And so before you had like the stereotypical model, right? The ones that are the way that we're used to,
Sure.
seeing. But then like they started getting crap. Well, no, that they're all skinny. Like where what's there's a term. There's like a euphemism they use for the fat people. Full bot. No, what is it? I don't know. Whatever it is. So they have like this new euphemism for fat people that they use to describe like that. Where are those types of models? Where are those types of models? And then like you started to see like it was actually affecting their revenue for Victoria's Secrets. Like it's going down, and it's because like they were getting scrutinized for like having these models looking the way they did. And I don't know if they eventually ended up adopting, but you'll see it more now. I don't know if you've noticed like clothing brands that used to have just like the skinnier or anorexic whatever looking models, now they have more full figured, that's what they'll say, the more full figured people. And it's like, why don't we just have like the healthy person? Like not like insanely skinny, not insanely fat, but like a healthy look. Like why not push that message
Because
forward?
it's not going to sell. It's
I
not
guess,
it's
I
not,
guess.
or it hasn't sold. But you know what? Some
Yeah,
brands do use that, and those brands you probably just don't hear on major.
that's the thing.
There's that too. There's such thing as Sprouts Market.
Mhm.
How many people know about Sprouts? Some of my clients, they'll come to me and they're like, "Oh, Sprouts, I've seen it a couple times."
Yeah.
But Sprouts is like a very local supermarket, and it's very like farm fresh and stuff. Again, that's just kind of what it is. Like people will gravitate things people don't know.
And there's a stigma behind it too. Like if you shop at Whole Foods, oh, then you're a douche. Or like you're pretentious, your
know.
thing.
I'm
I don't know if you've heard it. I'll
I
shop there
haven't-
anyway. Whatever.
I
Really, you haven't heard
yeah.
this?
I mean, I haven't at
Oh,
least interacted with
So
with
you always hear like oh, you're one of those guys, and it's not for everyone, but like I've
Sure.
heard this plenty. Like there's like I think there are stigmas behind it as well, and maybe people get shied away from the stigma, or because of the stigma, they're like, well, no way, I'm not gonna end up like that. Whatever, fine. It's like if your issue is with like with that one store, you don't have to go to that one store. There's still other, it's not like it's the only one that sells health,
Yeah.
more like health oriented or whatever.
Sure. But like, why isn't Sprouts put out more?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because what happens is Whole Foods happens. Whole Foods started off like Sprouts, and now Amazon bought Whole Foods. It's always about it comes back to the money making machine. Same thing with the models now. It's like what's gonna sell, or our numbers are going down. Great, so get the thing that's gonna
Right.
we can bring in to get the numbers back up. And it's that constant perpetual cycle of what's gonna sell, what's gonna sell, what's gonna sell.
Yeah.
What's gonna sell? What can we make that's gonna smell so good, taste so good, look so good, feel so good that people are gonna want to like gravitate towards it? And that's just kind of where we are right now. Is like it's humanity, But some don't live in that present moment, because they are also the people that are secluded away from all this. We're just exposed to this more, so it's things in our mind. If I were to like tap in and be like, "Oh, what's like the most ideal life for you?" I'd probably say, dude, moving into like a gorgeous couple acre land. Having my own like farm, all these things, it's a very different life than what we're experiencing here. These things wouldn't even be a conversation.
Right.
But we're so exposed to them. And it's such like a reality for us here. So that's also another thing to keep in mind too. It's like your environment will end up shaping you, Your environment will end up kind of meshing in one with you. And at that point, you're just going down this line. So, the American, I want to say how society has been set up here is like billboards of guests and this and that. It's become this thing, it's become this Armenians say Ajab Sandal, it's that one dish with all the things in there. So it's just that's what it's become. And I just like to empower people to just step into yourself real quick, do the practice, step into yourself, make choices and decisions from there, block all this stuff off.
Do you find for you, like again, the people that are doing that for the first time, like when they come to you, do they usually struggle initially to like the blocking out, like get fully in tune with yourself?
Everyone's so different, and I think it's everyone's on their own journey in a way, and I'm also on my own journey too. So like as I'm growing and developing, I'm attracting a group of individuals that are kind of similar to the things that I'm able to accomplish and the things I'm able to help them do. So that group of people come in, there's been time where like one after another I've had to work with people that kind of have like similar cases. And I was like, interesting. How did I just get similar
Mm.
cases in front of me? You know, four of these guys are literally like almost carbon copies of what they're dealing with. So I guess everyone's just on their own journey, you know. Everyone comes up with their own things and at their own time, and I don't know if I can specify that
Right.
really.
So you were mentioning you just finished your fast.
Sure,
You've done fasts before.
yeah,
This was your longest, you said.
longest
So it was like what 3.5 days, about
about 4 days.
4 days.
Yeah,
So what it was just what just water.
just water essentially. So water, some salt water for electrolytes if needed. If need be,
Like those packets, the ones, or
just
just
Himalayan sea salt
oh
and
okay
Celtic sea salt, um, and then some bone broth if necessary.
okay.
You know,
How frequently do you do these?
I try to do a fast once a month at least. How long I do it, that would be kind of based off how I feel.
Okay.
So 24-hour fast, a 48-hour fast. This one was like an open-ended fast. Let's see what happens kind of thing.
So you went pretty much as long as you were.
I could have gone longer for sure.
Okay.
I felt great. And I still do. Like I'm still on that mountaintop where like
Mm.
the mood is completely shifted and energy's there. Like obviously you could tell I'm very talkative
Mhm.
today. I mean, not
Good
that-
way.
In a good way, I guess. Hope I don't get myself in trouble in any way, shape, or form.
No, I don't think so.
Cool. But yeah, it's like just feels like great. So I'm gonna leave it open ended from now on. Like that was a new thing.
Yeah, some good looking meals after too.
Oh, thanks for keeping up with that. It was special.
Yeah,
It was special.
especially the steak. I was like, God damn, that looks good.
Yeah, and I guarantee you one thing: taking a bite out of that steak, the flavors that it's a flavor palette like you wouldn't taste if you're constantly
Mm.
like perpetually eating. You
Right.
know what I mean? The butter tasted so different. The cucumbers tasted so different. Like everything, the palate just changes. You know, it does its job in that sense. So it's great.
Are you familiar with Jordan Peterson?
Yes,
You know her daughter, Michaela?
I'm not aware.
Okay, so he has a daughter, Michaela,
Cool.
who, when was it? She put out like a video on YouTube. I think it was June or it was sometime this year. She did a fast as well, 12 days.
Cool.
And it was,
That's heroic right there. That's good stuff.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Because she was trying to beat her dad's. Her
Great.
dad had 10.
Because
Did
Jordan's
10, I
a
think.
beast.
Yeah. He had done 10. So she's like, she didn't have like a number. I think she said she wanted to go 7. And then but what it was kind of what you described, like as each day kind of went, I think her hump day was like 2 or 3. She was kind of feeling like whatever. And then after that, she's like, I felt great progressively as each day passed.
Yeah.
So she got to like 7. She's like, no, I still feel pretty good. I'm going to keep going. She's like, let me see if I can beat my dad's at 10. She passed that. She got to 11. She's like, I still feel pretty good. I can maybe keep going. She had some bone broth. She's like, it's
Yeah.
still like kind of fairly liquid. Like I'll still count it.
Yeah.
She got to 12. And she's like, honestly, I can maybe keep going, but I'm finally going to eat. And I'm watching this. I'm like, and the thing is, she was very positive throughout each day. And I'm just, because I haven't done it, honestly. The longest I've done is just within the day. Maybe I've done a day, like during college, like accidentally.
Cool.
But it's not like in a good way. Like maybe just like water, but not as often as it should happen.
Cool.
And also, I don't think again, I think you're not really told this is a good thing to do. It's like, what do you mean? You didn't eat? No, go eat.
It's not a
This,
part of
that.
Western medicine.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the thing. It's like, do you ever run into that? Like if you meet new people, for example, and like, you talk about if this is kind of health related stuff come up, do you run into opposition ever? Like that's not the way.
Often, and I love it because especially if it's an educated opposition. Because now
okay.
I can rebuttal with you. If it's just like, no, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like you're not eating. Oh, it can't be good for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you get that closed-minded like wall, he's like, all right, whatever I say right now, like I'm not gonna be able to swivel around.
Right.
No problem. I don't even have to. It's not my purpose right now. Nor is it something I have to engage with if I don't want to. But yeah, it happens quite often. I mean, just the other day, I think when I started at home, the first thing was like, oh, you're fasting again, like stop. But then they just saw how I was feeling, and all of a sudden my mom's like, I think I want to try a fast. I was like, there you go. Let's do this thing. You know what I mean? I'm helping her go through her 48th hour as we speak.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's cool. But yeah, you get opposition all the time. And it's just a matter of information. And then sometimes also what happens is like, you know what? When I have the opposition, like, you know what? Now that I think about it, back in our country, they used to make us fast once a week as a mandatory, or, oh, Jesus, 40-day fast. Like things like that will start coming up and like, okay, I guess it's not that taboo, But then you, of course, like anything else, you have the anti. And then when you're dealing with the anti, it's like, okay, cool, no worries. Do your thing. I'll do my thing. I feel great. I look good. I'm able to help people doing this. I'm okay with this decision.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Opposition, all praise to you, all respect to you. You know, is the argument even worth it? Who knows?
I guess it just matters how they approach it too. If it's
Sure.
like the first way you described it, then it's gonna be like, well, what the hell's
Well,
the
energy
point?
is everything,
Yeah.
right? You feel the energy before you even hear someone speak words. You feel like that like I'm coming at you kind of thing. And you're like, all right, bro, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to deal with this. And some kind of feed off of that too. You're like, all right, yeah, let me tell you about a little bit of fasting, bro.
Yeah.
Like they'll get into that zone. But yeah.
Have you ever been swayed one way, like based on like when you have like an educated opposition? Was there something that you can remember someone bringing up that you were kind of not necessarily against, but not something you would do, where they brought up, you're like, oh, that's you have something there, and then maybe you looked into it, or you ended up kind of going with it.
Yes. Of course, I think it was in the beginning. Well, first I was first opposed to fasting in a way. So
Okay.
let's start with that. I was always on the headspace of you gotta eat 6 meals a day, 5 meals a day, 4 meals a day, 3 meals a day. That's what I would learn. That's kind of what like the personal training certifications will teach you, right? Like the book,
Do they still?
essentially. But you have a little bit more progressive companies out there that are trying to get the real information out there.
Okay.
So I was, of course, one of those people too. And then my buddies who are really, really into this, and they're like, fasting, 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 fasting. This is not too long ago, maybe a year ago, maybe actually a year or 2 years ago. And they kept talking about fasting, and I was like, all right, fasting, huh? You guys seem to be okay. I'm a skinny guy. If I fast, I'm gonna become like a complete like skeleton. But then I looked into the health benefits, and I looked into places like Russia where there's facilities that have treated over 10,000 patients using fasting for any autoimmune disease, eczema, um, arthritis, some cancers. It's like, okay, cool. So there's people out there that have used fasting as an actual way of helping others. And then obviously I didn't think about it at the time too, but Jesus, I'll go back to like one of the most effective healers known to man at this point. How much of it is glorified or whatever, whatnot. I don't want to get into that, but we know that this person kind of was a healer in his true essence, and that's what it was. This guy practiced it too. He implemented a whole system based off of that. The world's been using it thus far. You have, who is it? I think another in another religion where they take Saturdays, I believe, off, or is it Fridays of food, or they
Judaism, Sabbath.
perhaps there we go. So it's there, and it kind of swayed me, and that's what swayed me, is pretty much. And then I just started off the bat. It was like, okay, cool. I haven't eaten. I've just woken up. I'm already 8 hours fasted. Great, let's go for 24 hours. So let's try this thing out. And I was also at a point where like I was all about really diving into my personal self and personal healing and stuff. So fasting came as the first thing. I was like, oh, great, I asked for it, and here it is. The message was fast. Tap into that energy. See what that's about. See how it feels in your body. Swayed towards that side. Tried it. I was like, yeah, I'm all about this now. You know what I mean? So I'm a good case in point for you there. I'm yet to have anyone try to sway me the other direction, because once you experience it, you're like, I don't know. Like, this feels pretty damn good. It feels right. Like,
your first fast was 24 hours?
24 hours. Yeah. Well, intermittent fasting too. Intermittent fasting is essentially giving yourself the 2 windows, right? So outside
like in
of
one
full 24 hours.
Full 20.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, were you like, I gotta eat, or were you like, I can maybe go a little more?
I'm sure I was like, if I remember correctly, I'm sure I had like the little wuss inside of me being like, that voice, and be like, bro, you need to eat now, But I was like, no, I'm okay. But I'm gonna make the decision to eat now.
Okay.
Yeah. Just this is enough for today. I've gathered enough data and information about this 24-hour fast for me to better equip myself for the next one coming up.
In a 24-hour one, would you still do the salt, like the Himalayan salt, Celtic salt, or that one is like short enough where just water on its own will suffice?
Short enough, it's just water. Essentially, what the salt is for is so after about 24 hours, your body realizes like, yo, I'm no longer getting any glucose, and glucose is one of the ways your body gets energy, through sugar, carbohydrates, XYZ. But there's also 2 other systems in which your body is able to convert energy, proteins and fats. So after 24 hours, your body's like, yo, dude, you haven't fed me, and I don't think you're gonna feed me. So guess what? I'm gonna start getting some glucose from my friends over here called muscles, because they're proteins, and proteins have glucose. You know what I mean? And then at that point, when that happens, your body has a little shift, and that's the shift most people feel. So if you're going 24 hours, you can break that easy. You'll come back. After 24 hours, most people will start feeling that headachy kind of, I'm getting a little like
Yeah.
lethargic and all. For some, again, it's way before that 24th hour. But essentially, it's just you feel that thing. You're like, okay, I feel good. Cut it at 24 hours. I'm back to being human again. Not much of a difference there. Once you dive into 48, 72, 90, now we're talking. Now your body's going through some major change. You're going from a diesel engine to all of a sudden going from a regular fuel engine, let's say, and your body's converting into a diesel engine within itself. You're like, holy crap, dude, this thing is pretty damn cool. Like Tony Stark in the flesh situation, like I'm Iron Man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm Iron Man. Like I can do all these things, So it's fascinating, bro. It's really, really fascinating. And if you heard anyone doing the ketosis diet or the keto diet,
She was doing that. That's what Michaela Peterson was in ketosis throughout that 12-day fast.
well, when you're fasting, that's
yeah, it was very.
So, like I was mentioning, right? It's like the proteins.
Mhm.
Do you know a little bit about it?
Of what?
What like the fast does and how ketosis comes into play?
Well, isn't it? Actually, no. Go ahead. Tell me.
So, from what I've understood and from my studying and stuff, of course, it's the body has, again, like I said, glucose, proteins, and then fats. Yeah, glucose is deprived from the body. The body decides, I need to figure out a different way to get my energy. I go to my proteins. Proteins pulls its glucose out. Realizes protein is not a very efficient source. The body then transfers itself into ketosis, where the liver now starts producing ketones, and the body starts burning away from its own fat, which is why the keto diet essentially is a high fat, mid protein, very low carb,
Right.
keeping the sugar out of the body. So once you're in ketosis during a fast, which is past your 48th hour, usually for the most part,
Okay.
like myself right now, I'm in a keto diet just to ride that wave for a little bit longer and not to make any dramatic changes to my system. So once you start going keto, once your body's now eating away out of its own fat and using its fat as an efficient fuel source and producing ketones, ketosis comes in. So whether you're on the keto diet or fasting, you're in keto. Just doing a keto diet to break your fast essentially is what becomes the important part. That's what's going to allow you to ride that wave for a little bit longer and feel that, that energy and that peak that you were feeling.
So after that transitionary period from fast to kind of reintroducing food, you said you kind of introduced it with keto, and then are you eating with the keto diet, or it's just that few days afterwards to just kind of transition?
That'll kind of be a choice thing. I'm actually have never tried the keto diet, so for me this is maybe going to be become another experiment and a project for myself. How long is keto going to last for me? How well am I going to feel? Is it something for me actually? You're known to lose a little bit of weight when you're on keto, but
Right.
you also get really shredded. So I've lost like about 10-15 pounds just in the last couple of days.
Are you serious?
Yeah, dude.
Holy crap.
It's crazy stuff. But it's like just water weight.
Yeah.
And besides water weight too, it's like,
but you can physically, like, looking at yourself, you can physically see.
I'm shredded, dude.
Wow.
Right now I'm shredded, and I was not that shredded considering before I started this, and I'm not nearly where I was when I was bodybuilding and doing all that kind of stuff, of course. But yeah, my body made dramatic change. Skin started glowing. Freaking.
She was saying the same thing. Peterson's daughter.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So yeah, I want to practice keto for a little bit, just to gather some more information about it too. You never know.
Do you check it on the thing?
I just got my piss test.
Okay.
So it's just something. It's a little tab.
Yeah.
I'll check the pH. It'll kind of let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that version. And I think there's one where you just prick your finger and you put it in the thing.
Yeah.
I guess they're just different.
It's an insulin thing at that
Yeah.
point. Yeah. Just making sure you're not spiking it all. Because that's the damaging part to the body, constantly spiking your insulin. That's where diabetes and all these things come into play. You know what I mean? So keeping the insulin at bay, kind of. So this keto diet's gonna be interesting. I'm feeling freaking like there's like a electrical current right now that's just like going top down.
But you're very calm. I mean, you mentioned you're generally like this. I'm sure what you do, your exercises, your breathing, all that helps.
Yeah.
But like, because I felt like I had to bring myself down. Not that I'm not high energy by any means. If anything, I'm like low energy. But I'm generally more wired. Like I can easily get set off, like, anger wise, like driving especially.
Cool.
But then, like, as soon as you came in, I was like, oh, I gotta bring it down. This guy's already low. Like the BPM you're measuring, this guy's at like at a 50. I gotta bring it down.
Yeah, considering I just did like some breath work before I walked in and right before actually I was in some sessions, so that makes total lots of sense. Yeah, but I guess I keep myself there at this point. I feel like I feel better there. It makes me feel like I'm a better filter for whatever comes my way. I assess it from a place of clarity and calmness as opposed to being strong. But then, dude, you see me at a party sometimes or when I'm DJing, I'm
Yeah.
You know, it's a whole different animal that comes out. So there's a time and place,
Yeah.
I guess, for all the energies.
Okay, you brought up so DJing. What type of music are you DJing?
I
And
started
how
off.
long?
How long has it been?
Yeah.
I
What
first of all, I don't want to call myself a DJ.
okay, you try maybe.
Yes, I've played parties. I've done a good job with it. I've had people liking my music. That whole thing
Uh-huh.
came about. You know, you put a label on a DJ. There's some DJs out there, dude, that like they do so much for that craft. Where to call yourself a DJ is like
Insulting.
exactly. I have some friends too. Like when I'm by them, very close friends that have actually taught me how to DJ. Like I refrain from speaking anything about DJing with them only because I'm like I'm not in the same field
Yeah.
as playground as you. You know, music's just something I've always enjoyed. My brother was a DJ. Um, and a couple of my brother's friends were DJs that are still friends of mine. So I was always around it. I would go to my brother when he was DJing parties and just like be like, oh, interesting. I was never really the techie guy, you know, like video games and stuff
Right.
really wasn't my thing. But something about the art of being able to gauge an energy, have your ammunition, and having this tool that has so many knobs on it. It looks like the control center of like a spaceship or something and just controlling and dictating the energy of a crowd and just feeding off of that whole thing was very interesting to me. And it's been fun, you know, just to share like your taste of music and to dive into that. So it's been nice. It's been cool.
Yeah, the way you just described it makes sense to what you were saying in the beginning when we started talking, that everything kind of intertwines with what you do.
Correct though. Yeah,
And it
yeah.
all revolves around energy too.
Correct. Yeah, it's essentially, yeah, you know. Um it's all about like essentially making people happier, making myself happier, enjoying things a little bit more. Music really is one of the key components to enjoyment for most. I know for me, at least when I wake up, music's on, I'm ready, I'm good. When I'm in the gym, music's in my ears. And that's where it actually started too, where it's like, okay, training, music, good music, training session went better. No music sometimes, training session was good or great. Music comes in, you're like, whoa,
Hmm.
I feel great. Like I'm going up with the highs, I'm going down with the lows.
Right.
Like this thing is telling a story and I'm moving along with the story. Of course, being able to take music and understand it in that sense is it's its own goggle and it's its own, you know, it's its own set of, um, it's its own vision capacity and capability. Um, but yeah, it's cool. It kind of intertwines. It really does. It really does. It dictates the energy of both. So I was like, okay, I'm listening to all this music. I'm making playlists for all this stuff. My brother left his DJ system home one day. I was like, I think I'm gonna give this thing a shot. The first mix I ever made. First mix. Never like practiced,
Right.
none of that stuff. I made it, I recorded it, I put it up, and I started getting hits on it. I was like, oh, okay,
Nice.
this is cool. People are enjoying this. I enjoyed it. Thanks for enjoying it, guys. You know, it was one of those moments.
Mm-hmm.
My brother listened to it. He's like, okay, kid, you know, like you got a little something here. I'd like to see that a little bit more. Did it for a little bit and then completely let go. Never took it really too seriously.
Mm.
Took music very seriously,
Right.
but didn't take the DJing component,
Right.
you know? And then recently just started playing some parties and things like that. And it was fun, you know? It showed me that I can dive into that thing too if I
Yeah.
really wanted to and like take it all the
Right.
way. Not too fun of the lifestyle.
Right.
You know, it kind of
Yeah.
that's the part that didn't align. So I was like, I'd rather be the guy that's probably gonna have a nice, cool vinyl set and
Mm.
a cool like vinyl that's chilling in his room, go pop my vinyl on, chill, listen to some music, have some friends over, mix for them, do things like that. If I get the opportunity to play for crowds or going out, sure, why not? I'll dabble into it. But just like anything else, your first dive is like a head dive, and you're like,
Mm.
okay, I'm all the way. And you're like, okay, no, give me a second here. Like I had something going here.
Right.
Give me a quick second. So yeah, definitely intertwined, definitely fun, definitely enjoyable, definitely great art, definitely a modern day art. You know,
Mm.
it's not like going and listening to a band play.
Yeah.
You know, 5 6 guys jamming and vibing off of each other. I kind of don't like the whole component of I'm the DJ, you guys are the guests, watch me play around with my toy. That whole setup kind of doesn't, you know, sometimes feel right, but it feels great when you're actually in there doing
Yeah.
it. You're like, dude, all these guys are fucking looking at me, and I'm just like pumping this energy out,
Mm.
pumping this energy out, and we all become one, and then you lose sight of that whole, you know, that
Yeah.
whole separation kind of thing that I was talking about. So it has its cool perks. It's a very fun thing to do and dabble in. Pretty happy I did it. Yeah.
Do you ever splurge on anything like food, like specifically with food? Like you seem very disciplined with your diet, but do you ever? Is there like what one meal a week? When do you
Oh,
do you
I
eat
play
it?
around all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wh-
I'm so like balanced with it.
What's your like?
in and
Like you have a
out.
go-to? Yeah, there you go. That's something worse. Give me something else.
No,
That's
I think
the worst.
I think the worst it gets is in and out.
That's
If
tame.
if I really like Reese's peanut butter cups sometimes.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah. Like I love dark chocolate as dark chocolate, and I love snacking on dark chocolate. So like always have dark chocolate. And then the milk chocolate fans will come like, oh my god, it's disgusting. It's so bitter.
It is.
Like, yeah, dude, it's fucking dark chocolate. You know what I mean? Like, it's great. It's cacao. Like, it comes from Peru. It's coming from Ecuador. Like, it's good stuff. Eat it. You need it. I was like, okay, I'll take a step back. But yeah, I don't think I'm like a splurger in any way. I don't think I have like that.
And has that always been like that?
Yeah, yeah. I've never had like that addictive tendency. I got really addicted to really healthy things really quick, only because I guess it made me feel better in a way. But never really had that like I'm gonna splurge on this thing right now. Soda came out of my life really early. I think I was like 16, maybe 15. Um, what else? Yeah, chips was never really a big thing. If it's around, if I'm going to like, I'm not gonna be the guy like, no, I will not have that chip.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna have that chip, dude. Like
Yeah.
it looks nice. You know, that sour cream and onion dip you got there, sure, why not?
Yeah.
Very balanced, but only because I live by like the 80-20 rule. I want to say, 80% of the time, I have a mission here. 80% of the time, I'm doing my thing. 20% of the time, enjoy yourself. You know, and
That
even
seems like a pretty fair balance. That's
Yeah.
not like unreasonable.
no, and that's what I teach clients essentially, and help guys. Just it's an 80-20 rule. If you're 20, if what you should be eating in your 20 is taking up more space, and that's your 60, 70, just tone that stuff down. Go to the opposite spectrum. Get the 80 in and enjoy the 20. You know what I mean? Go hang out with your friends. Let the 20 be your friends' time. Let 20 be when you're going out with your buddies, going to a bar, or just going out of town. You know, you're going to Cabo and or Cancun or something, and all
Right.
of a sudden, or wherever it might be that you're vacationing, and you want a margarita, dude, have the margarita, man. Why are you killing yourself? Build the balance. Do what you got to do. Remain disciplined in your own self practice. Go enjoy the rest of the time. At that point, you realize most of the things that you wanted to even eat are out of the diet completely. So my 20% is like milk chocolate. It's like having a bag of like half-baked Lay's or like this fresh baked chips. You know what I mean? Like the options just like figure themselves
Yeah.
out. That's what kind of happens.
So now I'm curious to know, like a weekend trip for you. I mean, you sort of almost answered it there, but so do you like take your own, like you like meal prep and take it there?
No, I'm not that extreme. I'm all about like kind of being sustainable. Now, because I'm on keto right now, I would say if I were to go take a trip, first I would second guess taking the trip only because it's going to be pretty difficult in itself, not very sustainable. Also, my lifestyle, I've just kind of, you know, I'm not like pigeonholed into one thing, so I wouldn't take it to that extreme. You know what I mean? When I'm ketoing now, of course, yeah, it has its own thing, but I've kind of aligned everything else to work with this. You know, like the only reason I broke my fast is because I had basketball practice today for the first time with a new coach, with a new trainer, and I was like, if I go to that session, it's an hour and a half, I might fall flat on my face, and I don't want to do that. So you know what? Let me just break my fast today.
Yeah.
It just worked out that way, you know. So I kind of plan accordingly. You know, there'll be months where I'll be like, guys, world, shut off. It's Alex time. I'm in my room. I'm doing my thing. Don't bug me. And there's times, you know, I'm out and about. Like we just went to Vegas not too long ago. Not my favorite place, but it's great to be in that energy and in that vibe. Like it's its own specific dose, you know. And we were there, and I was like, I don't feel like eating shitty food here. I'm gonna eat the best possible food I can get. Like vacation mode didn't settle in. You know what I mean? On the contrary, I was waking up at 7 o'clock, going to the gym. Like I was like, yes, finally, I could wake up at 7 and go to the gym for myself in this clean, beautiful gym. Like that's the purpose I went on the vacation. You know what I mean? It's like I look for those openings where like, yes, I could be in a clean gym. I could have room service, eat in my bed, go work out, come back, sleep, go work out, come back, sleep. Like those are things that I really like take a lot of energy to try to like make those things happen. Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, completely different wiring in a good way, big time. I mean,
good or bad, who's to say?
That's
It is
fair,
what it is.
but at least it's good in terms of being healthy.
It might be that you and I might meet again, maybe a year down the line, maybe 2 months down the line, maybe 3 years down the line, maybe 10 down the line, or maybe even like a week down, like that. Like, oh, cool, like, let's do something together. Like, absolutely, bro. Whenever the journey hits for you, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just takes that spark. It might be the case.
So I'm definitely trying fasting now.
Fantastic.
I'm not going to go 90.
I'd love to guide you through.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll talk after.
Yeah.
So let's close with this. Okay, so overall pretty positive conversation for the
Sure.
most part. You're very honed in with yourself. You're very disciplined. So throughout all this, any periods of difficulty for you, whether it be
Absolutely.
on the business side, personal, whatever, how'd you overcome it?
Uh, with this, with this exactly, just diving deeper into this.
Hmm.
You know, I've definitely had moments, and just not too long ago, that I was probably in the darkest place that I've had to find myself in. And I think 2019 had that effect on many people.
Hmm.
I've heard that thing kind of circulate, like it shattered me, it broke me down, whatever. There was definitely like a moment I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. You know, it may come off as very confident, as very thing, but trust me, when it's like myself on my own, like I'm questioning 1,000 things constantly. You know, the normal human brain.
Right.
I'm also doing something that's not very easy and is very against the grain. So like, got it. Um, there was a time that I was taking jobs that I probably shouldn't have been taking because I didn't have the guts and I want to say the balls to dive fully into this, because then it would mean I have to take full responsibility, right? And you know, I was kind of like fearing that responsibility in a way, and caught myself kind of going off path,
Hmm.
you know, in a little way. I want to say maybe I don't want to say modeling was a part of that, but that whole just period of my life, I want to say 3 4 years, where I was just like in this search, you know, like you kind of I kind of went through that early 20s, like what am I here to do, like what is my purpose here. And I'm a very like target oriented guy, you know, like I have to put a target for myself. And even if I don't know what that end location is, the practice for me becomes the target. What is my practice? Very practice oriented. So yeah, I definitely I hit my face on the cement pretty hard, you know. People left my life, things like that, like things kind of broke apart.
Hmm.
But that all, the voice inside of me that said, "You got this," was this guy. The
Right.
guy that's in my head being like, "Yo, but you could be doing this for your healing. Like you could be taking an ice bath right now and rewiring your nervous system. Like you could be doing this XYZ, yada yada yada. You could be going hiking barefoot. You could be doing this. Like you are the person that's attracted to all these things, but you're not partaking in these activities, and that's why you're feeling a certain way." So I dove 1,000 times deeper into this end, and ever since I did, I mean, business started flourishing in the sense that I don't want to call it business because it's really not a business, but um, the practice that I'm upholding and doing kind of just skyrocketed in itself, because as I started healing myself and going through that process of rebuilding who I am and rebuilding my identity in a way, and kind of just doing all that, everything just kind of formed itself around me, you know. I was saying before, like sometimes you might be the best, you might be a very healthy plant planted in the wrong soil.
Hmm.
Take the plant, bro, put it in better soil. You know what I mean? Like situations like that start happening. So I think for anybody, um, you hit a dark place, double down on yourself. Definitely double down on yourself. Dive into the things you otherwise wouldn't. There's
Right.
a science behind this at the end of the day, you know? Your nervous, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this a lot, where your nervous system is essentially the thing that upholds all trauma. It's like this electrical circuit right in the body. That's what the nerves are. That's why you feel like a shock going somewhere. When the body experiences trauma in any way, shape, or form, your nervous system takes that in, and it keeps reminding you of emotions and thoughts. And that's where those dark places and those dark thoughts and things like that start coming in. Well, my first head thing was, then go rewire your nervous system. What are the acts of you doing that? Breath work. Because I could calm my nervous system down and slow my mind down. So that rabbit hole kind of slows itself down a little bit. Um, Ice baths, jump into a big bucket of ice. You can't do anything but be present when you're in a bucket of ice. You know what I mean? You can't be anything but present. Your mind, you yourself, you're in reptilian brain. Like you're primitive in that moment. You're like, this is survival. So I started training like that survival mechanism within myself, the fight or flight. Because that is dictated by your autonomic nervous system, like I was saying, and just an ice bath can bring you in touch with that to train for that situation better.
Hmm.
So downfall, whatever it might be, there are tools in order for you to use, in order for you to prepare better for situations like that, and just live in the unknown for a little bit and let things kind of figure themselves out. And that would probably be the best advice for anybody. Don't be afraid of the unknown, as long as you're doing the right things to take care of yourself, because the universe works in some interesting ways.
Hmm.
Like you will attract things to you quick. Like I've attracted this to myself. You know what I mean? I've always wanted to be on a podcast. Great.
Sweet.
You guys called me and I was like, oh, this is cool. I get to go speak. Not too long ago, I was like, I want to help the Armenian population. I got a call from, Armenian channel, like, yo, Al, come on in. We want you to talk about XY holistic health to the entire Armenian community. I was like, all right, cool, this
That's
is cool.
fantastic.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to do all this if I didn't go through that place,
Mm.
if I didn't understand that I can take care of myself a little bit better. And in doing so, I automatically put myself in a position to become a leader because just by being and just by being me, the natural gravitational pull of that self brought these things to existence. You know what I mean? So it's okay to hit your face on the cement. It's okay to fail. Um, and your reaction to failing, how you do all these things, like shit happens. Stuff happens. You hit a dark place, go revert back to self. He knows what to do, or she knows what to do. The little guy in there, we call it the inner child in a way. Like that voice is there. Don't lose that voice.
Yeah.
Everything is possible. Anything is possible.
Yeah, I think that's critical advice, and I think a fantastic note to end on. And that'll, if people realize that, it'll go a long way. And it's something that during times of difficulty, I've realized that too. What you said is like, it's good to have a support system.
Yeah.
By no means is it like saying no, rely solely on yourself, but the primary driver needs to be you. You can have
Correct.
people guiding, but
100%.
if you entirely rely on them, it's gonna set it back drastically. If
100%.
if not entirely,
100%.
you have to put yourself in the driver's seat.
You do.
So thanks a lot, Alex.
Thank you.
Anything you want to, social media, where can people find you if they want to reach out to you for anything? What's the best way?
I guess my Instagram is a cool place.
Okay. We'll put all that in the thing.
Cool stuff. Yeah, I kind of stepped away from it for a little while, but I'm trying to do like some small things here and there.
It's a good call.
I'm trying to kind of use it as my personal thing as well.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be so like intrusive where
Mhm.
all kinds of things are coming through. But I keep people updated through that as far as like what I'm up to is
Right.
holistic health and all that kind of
Good
stuff.
food.
Hopefully soon I'll have a separate entity that will kind of be this thing. I'll spread the name out now. It's I called it One Mind, One Body. And hopefully that will kind of be a new thing that I'll start up. But until then, my personal Instagram should be cool.
You got it. Well, until
Yeah,
then, we'll wait for that. Best wishes on that.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate you
Appreciate
coming
you,
on.
man. Thank you.
Perfect.
My guy.